Welcome to the bullpen. This is our monthly look at what's happening in markets. A conversation with Tommy Grisafi from Advanced Trading ATI Pro Media. Tommy, as always, we appreciate these chances to dissect what's happening in the marketplace. First of all, as we do that, a happy new year to you and yours.
Same to you, Mr. Wick. Always a pleasure to be on air with you. Love to educate people, and you have a big platform and a booming voice. Let's get down to it.
Well, let's talk about it. When you look at this past year, 2023, what was the big story that you saw?
2023, definitely that interest rates collapsed. The number one thing that happened that I noticed was interest rates collapsed. Number two is that the stock market closed real close to its highs on the year. We're just off a couple percent. Number three, commodities collapsed. And you would think that would make land prices collapse, but they didn't. So we go into number four. Land prices are still trading at elevated prices as the very commodity that you're trading is way off from where it was a year ago. So wrapping it up, interest rates collapsed. Things are going on, in other parts of the world. You got the stock market. If you would have asked me, Don, if we go back to look at the bullpen on January, first week of January or last week of December last year, I wouldn't have bet that you could have put money in a CD and made 5%. I wouldn't have bet that you could also put money in the stock market and made 20 to 40%. And I wouldn't have bet that land prices would keep going and all that while commodity prices are collapsing. So there was a lot of places you could make money, but the people watching and listening to your shows are definitely people who are rooting for commodities to go up. And that cycle has officially ended. 2023 will be known as the year that the commodity markets adjusted and got back to normal, sir.
Interest rates are at the top of that list. We were at the highs we've seen in a couple of decades. The Fed was very aggressive, but it really changed here the last 6-8 weeks. What kind of put the brakes on that?
Well, as they start raising a quarter, a half, and I've lost track of how many they did, but they went pretty much from zero up to something. So it was a very aggressive move. It takes a while for that to hit the economy. And I think the Fed noticed enough things taking place that they said they're just going to stop raising rates. And then after a cycle of watching that, they think they've done enough. Now, amazingly, when the stock market noticed that they're done raising rates, over the last 2 months, the stock market, half of this year's rally happened over the last 2 months. That's just an absolutely amazing amount of wealth that was created here in the last few months.
I mean, when you take a look at managed money, obviously, whether we're talking grains or any commodity, that's pretty important. And here at the end of the year, outside of maybe a couple weather-driven rallies, we have this market leaning very much in one direction. What's that mean for us as we move into 2024?
Great point, Don. I'm glad you brought that up. The funds have been heavily long commodities, hedging against interest rates, hedging against inflation. They've wanted to be long commodities. They have officially stopped that pattern. And not only are they not long corn, which they were for years, they are now short corn futures. They're doing very aggressive at plays and options. It's putting pressure on the farmer, and the funds can be a friend to the farmer and rancher, or they could also be negative to them. And when you're growing a commodity and they're betting it's going lower and they're hoping it's going lower, and they hope you sell your grain to them at the dead low, then all of a sudden you don't like the fund. So when the USDA puts out a bullish number, USDA is okay. When the USDA puts out a bearish number, conspiracies start to happen. It's very important for your folks who watch and listen to understand what the funds are doing with their money and the inflows and outflows. They are currently aggressively selling commodities, to your point, Dan.
One of the other big stories we saw here this past year seems to be the theme of transportation. I don't know if I've ever seen where we've seen such a convergence of transportation challenges, whether it's what's happening in the Black Sea, the Red Sea, Mississippi River, Amazon, Panama Canal. It seems like all of these issues have been red flags for us, particularly here at the end of 2023. In your career, have you ever seen anything like this?
No, sir. I fill up my bingo card. It didn't take long to fill it up. I have an office right outside the Mississippi River, so that's a little easier to keep track of. As far as all these seas, and I've never been to Panama Canal. Did you ever take a trip down to Panama?
Never to the Panama, no.
We need to do that together. All these things I spend a lot of time Googling and looking at images and searching and saying, how many vessels go through this? How important is this? What goes through this? How does oil flow around the world? And as fast as I read breaking headline stories, what's it mean when Gaza invades Israel? And a few years ago, all this would have been, Russia and Ukraine. Now it's flipped to more that whole side of the world is a hot mess. And for those of you wishing for peace on earth in 2023, it didn't happen.
We talk about black swan events. It's like we've had very little ones going on throughout the year.
Yeah, and that creates volatility, and sometimes it's good for the farmer. But at the point we have too much grain, it's weird. We become callous. We become just blah. Like you see a headline, oh, this many people died. You're like, whatever, things are great at my house, right? Unless it's happening to you, it's not a big deal. And I think that's really stems from I'll go back all the way from when I was younger, when 9/11 happened, right? 9/11 was my version of what I know as Pearl Harbor. My parents were born a few days uh, before Pearl Harbor. And so that was like our generation's Pearl Harbor event. Since then, other dramatic things and drama that happen, we just become callous. Russia invades Ukraine. I drive around Valparaiso. I drive around Grand Forks. Things are pretty good. And unfortunately, I'm not saying we've lost our compassion for the world. There's so many things happening in the world that if you get your heart involved in it, you'd be on all types of antidepressants. So it's just good to just take care of yourself, take care of your family, and take care of America.
Talk about the other big story we followed this past year was really this crop. We started late, at least in this part of the world. Drought was certainly a big story we talked about in 2023, but still, it seemed like every farmer we talked to at the end of the year, their crop was better than expected. Which I don't know if that's a testament to the genetics we're putting out there or what, but nice to see perhaps from the production side of this business.
Yeah, when prices go up of markets, it allows a lot more dollars for research. And we've had another boom in the commodity market, and we've had another gain in just overall genetics and everything else. I don't know anyone whose farming practices have went backwards. Think of all the millions of miles of tile that goes in the ground. Maybe millions is too much, but hundreds of no, millions,
Yeah.
millions of miles of tile go in. As you go in a quarter or a half section, a section, and drive back and forth every 30, 40 feet, we are producing more with less, and it's a very powerful thing.
Politics also a story. The farm bill we thought was going to get done this past year, it did not. It's been a very chaotic time in Congress. Margins are razor thin. Does the market pay attention to those kind of things, or is that just kind of the backdrop of everything that we're doing here in the
It's
marketplace?
a great thing. I don't think a professional trader says, "Oh, we don't have a farm bill. I'm going to put this position on." I don't think they think like that. But the farmer locally, every single farmer and rancher should be reaching out. These politicians work for you folks. You should reach out and all the way from the local level to the state level to the national level. Y'all should be reaching out and saying, "What are we paying you to do? I'm providing food, fuel, and fiber to the world. I need the security of that farm bill."
No doubt. Any other things we should be looking at as we go into a new year and turn this calendar, Tommy?
Just keep your chin up and be ready to pivot. Whether we could have a big crop next year, we could have a smaller crop. In the end, you need to be flexible. Markets rally, markets break. You don't make money growing corn, wheat, and beans. You make money selling them. Focus on doing a better job of selling what you're going to produce.
Well, again, thank you, Tommy. Appreciate the chance to talk. Tommy Grisafi with us from Advanced Trading ATI Pro Media. That's the bullpen. I'm Don Wick on the Red River Farm Network.